Hello! Welcome back to my channel! I'm sorry it's had absolutely nothing on it for a good month or more, but I've just had my exams and then I was away for 2 weeks on field work. I'm still doing field work, but it's now in a museum, so I've got some time to film some videos for you. And I thought that a great video to do that would hopefully help a lot of people is one on personal statements, because I've had a lot of requests for this, and also people asking me directly about things that I put in my personal statement. I have already spoken to people in person about this too, and I'm gonna be soon running workshops on personal statements and Oxbridge applications with my sixth form. Yeah, with my sixth form. So I thought this would help that, but also help you lot. So yeah, welcome back if you were here before. And if you are new to this channel, then please subscribe. It will help me.
Okay.
If you don't know what a personal statement is, then a personal statement is, well, it's a yeah. So a personal statement is basically a piece of writing about yourself and your achievements that's 4,000 characters long. And so I've got mine in front of me from when I applied, and mine was, this includes spaces, 3,994 characters and 612 words. So it's not that many, but because it's all about yourself, it feels like quite a lot. So essentially, you write a personal statement and then attach it to your UCAS application, and it gives them a sense of why you want to do the course that you're applying for and the things that you're interested in. So I thought a good way to start this would be to read you just a little bit of mine. I haven't read this since I wrote it, so this could be interesting. Okay, so I opened my personal statement with a cringy quote, which I would say that I don't recommend doing, but clearly it didn't matter for me, so here goes. Bear in mind, I applied for archaeology and anthropology. When Professor Donald Johansen and his student Tom Gray stumbled across the 47 bone fragments belonging to 3.7 million-year-old Lucy, the Australopithecus afarensis, on November 24, 1974, they danced, mad as any Englishman in the midday sun. That's a quote from one of the books that I have in my shelf. Archaeological discoveries, such as those made by Johansen and Leakey, are what drive my interest in understanding human evolution and how civilization began developing into what we have today. As well as human prehistory, I have become particularly interested in culture and globalization in the ancient world. This interest emerged after I attended an Arcananth mini-lecture on early trade in Africa by Professor Timothy Insall at the University of Manchester. It followed his research into the 14th century economic hub Timbuktu and the archaeology of religion in northern Ghana. Wow. I sound like an utter nerd. Well, okay, that's quite something. So, essentially, what we can gather from that is that you go in all guns blazing. Don't pitter-patter around the point, just basically show them everything you know in as little words as possible. So basically from that, what the people reading it can gather is that I have gone to lectures and I have read books around the subject without having to, so without saying I have a passion for archaeology, which don't use that word ever, I'm showing that. It's an inferred passion as opposed to saying I am really passionate, which which is quite good actually. I'm quite impressed with myself, although while I was keen, I'm going to put that down. I'm going to give you 5 top tips that I have thought of and also gathered from the Oxford website as well, about writing a personal statement to suit Oxbridge applications. And this will also work for any personal statement, it's not just for Oxbridge, but that's what they want and this is what I worked for to do mine as well. So tip number 1 is on the kind of composition of academic to extracurricular in a personal statement. So on the Oxford website it says that you should have 80% academic and 20% non-academic, so extracurricular. And essentially with an Oxford, and I'm guessing Cambridge as well, personal statement, it is not about being a kind of rounded person with all this like Duke of Edinburgh and NCS, and obviously that's great and I did use that in mine, but in the tiniest little paragraph at the end. So my personal statement, if I have a look at it again, I've got obviously that opening paragraph. I then have one paragraph that is on how geography and my geography A-level linked to my chosen degree. So I have said that map reading and data analysis has meant that I could construct fieldwork easily, and I've learned in sociology that Marxism and feminism and changing ideology can help me with anthropology, because I was applying for straight archaeology at a lot of places, whereas at Manchester and Oxford I was applying for it with anthropology, so I needed to add that anthropology side to my personal statement too. And then the biology, I've said that it'll help me with science and archaeology, and then my EPQ, which I actually changed since I wrote this. So I've said my EPQ is on something that it actually wasn't, but that was fine because it meant that in my Oxford interview I could just tell them what I actually was doing, and that was fun. So that's kind of a paragraph on subjects. So essentially you want a paragraph that is evaluating the skills that you've learned in each subject and relating it to your chosen university subject. So it might not be an obvious link, but definitely some of the skills that you've learned, even if it's just writing and organisational skills, will help with your degree. I also have a paragraph on how I went to a summer school, and I went to Unique Summer School at Oxford, which is it's a summer school that I would really recommend, and actually I think if you're in year 12 you can apply in January. If you're going into year 12 you can apply in January, and essentially it's free, but it's for people from certain areas, maybe first generation university students, people from schools who don't normally send people to Oxbridge and low income backgrounds, and it's really helpful. It's completely free. And I would definitely recommend checking if you fit the criteria, because I know that helped me get my foot in the door, and it really did help me with my application process. But essentially what I've talked with that, because obviously that's extracurricular, but it's also academic. So if you've got an extracurricular thing, you kind of want to disguise it as an academic thing. And I did Egyptology, so again I've linked that to archaeology because it is. Now I did textiles, and I thought that because it's not really an academic subject, I was really going to have to blag my way through getting that on my personal statement. So I've done a whole paragraph, which is how many words? I've done a whole 120 words on why textiles is good for archaeology, because I thought I should probably prove myself with that. So again, you're evaluating what skills you've learned and why you can link that to your subject. So I've said that some of my projects that I did were on architecture and bones. So I've said that some of my research was from photography of archaeological sites, because I went to Cyprus, talked about that. But again, if you've not been to places, if you, I don't know, like you've just not had that experience for whatever reason, that's fine. They don't judge you on everything that you've done, they judge you on how you evaluate that, and it even says that on their website. Like, that's not just something that I'm saying. It's on how you link it and how you apply it to your interests, I guess. So I've said that my textiles project was on exploring architecture from different time periods in history, and it's developed my illustrative skills needed for recording. Why am I doing that? For recording archaeological finds. And then I just weaved in how that I've done a little bit of field work. So again, that's extracurricular, but it does link to my degree, so they'd call it super curricular. Here is my extracurricular paragraph that has nothing to do with academics. So at the very end, I've given myself 120 words again to talk about extracurricular. Now, I'll read it. I'll just read it. That's a lot easier than explaining. So it says, having been head of student council and head girl, I believe that I have had the experience needed to help engage with a successful students' union.
Wow!
For example, I have developed public speaking and leadership skills and listening and organisational skills by arranging and running meetings and giving presentations at assemblies and school events. So essentially what I'm saying there is I am evaluating my skills. Once again, I keep saying that, but I'm evaluating my skills and saying how it could benefit the university. In addition to taking part in NCS and working as a gymnastics coach has given me excellent experience leading groups of young people. I believe that these experiences will be beneficial for the course. That's what you need to do every time. Why is it beneficial for your course? As I have had the confidence to lead group projects and give presentations of findings. Overall, a degree in archaeology complements both my academic and creative interests and would be a perfect foundation for my goal of completing postgraduate research in paleoanthropology.
Okay.
So, yeah, I've essentially just whipped out where I want my degree to go in one sentence. I haven't mentioned a lot of things that I've done, so you don't want to list everything that you've done because it's irrelevant, and as much as it has definitely helped you as a person, pick the best ones, pick the most showy-offy ones you've got, and then link it to why it will help you at university and why that university or Oxford or Cambridge College would benefit from you being there because you have these skills. That is pretty much all I have to say on the split between academics and extracurricular. So, that brings me on to point number 2, sell yourself. So as you have probably realised from me reading bits of my personal statement, you really have to get in there and sell yourself and show that you are the person for this place. There was going to be some motivational speech and I just put in all your best points. Say you're organised, say you're hardworking, say you've got excellent attendance or whatever. Just tell them everything that is really good about you that they will want to hear, because if they're trying to find the best students, they're not just going to look at your grades, they're going to look at people who will respond the best to their teaching. So if you're in a tutorial setting, which you are at Oxford, and it's called supervisions at Cambridge, but it's the same thing, it's the 1-to-2 or 1-to-1 teaching, they're going to want to get on with you. They obviously want a clever person, but they're not going to choose you if you don't come across as someone that they're going to want to work with. And yeah, the interview helps with that a lot. If you come across as someone that they're going to want to teach at interview, then that's great. But you need to get to that interview first. And you want to sell yourself as a person who is obviously compliant, but hardworking, organised, someone who is fun to work with and will respond to what they tell you to do. Oh my god, this is harder than I expected. So on the Oxford website, it says do, sell yourself. This is not the time for modesty. So yeah, I'm allowing you to be big-headed. I'm allowing you to think that you are the best. I mean, you probably are, to be honest, if you're applying for Oxbridge.
It's a giraffe!
Oh my god. Put your best attributes, your best achievements. Tell them how much of a little nerd you are, and they will love it. Step number 3. This is a don't. Please do not dramatize. No. Maybe brag a little, as long as it's truthful, but don't dramatize it. The more like big words in terms of dramatic effect you put in, the more fake it looks. So my first draft had a whole lot of I immerse myself in archaeology, or I'm so passionate about this, I have driven my interest. All of these over dramatized phrases that are just unnecessary. They look fake and they look like you're trying too hard. Just be yourself, literally. If you use the same word over and over again, that's fine. I have an obsession with not using the same word, but really, who cares? Just use the word. Don't overdo it by trying to find some clever looking synonym, because you just look like an idiot. No OTT. Has my brain gone to mush? I tell you, Oxford exams. What number is this? What number is this? 4. Number 4. Numero quattro. Yeah, that is quattro. 14. No, that's wrong.
English, mother!
Evaluation. So basically, I explained all of this in the first point. Evaluate everything that you say. So I'm going to reiterate it because it is the most important point. So if you're going to say something about yourself, evaluate it. For example, if you're applying for medicine and you did a summer school or a placement in a hospital, if you were volunteering, even just on the reception desk, evaluate how that has helped you gain knowledge or skills. So even if your medical experience is looking after a family member, or I don't know, even working in childcare, doing a work experience in a school, there is all the skills needed in that environment, the people skills, the obviously judging situations with young children can be very difficult, but it is vital for a career in health. You need to make these on-the-spot decisions, you need to have that responsibility level, and all those skills, if you can apply that to your course, is worth it. Don't think that just because you can't get a certain placement or you don't have enough money to pay for a summer school or whatever, that means you can't do it. That's rubbish. Use what you've got, and if you use what you've got and it's not as much as someone else, but you still pull it out the bag and you still come out with just as good skills applied to your personal statement, then you might get chosen over them, because clearly you are able to make something out of nothing. Yeah, essentially what I'm trying to say is evaluation and application is much, much more important a lot of the time than the actual activity that you're describing itself. It's, again, going back to the academics, when you've done a certain subject that might not be purely relevant, it doesn't matter as long as you can apply the skills and the things that you have learned to your degree. Number 5, drafting. I did a good 5 drafts. I started writing my personal statement, it must have been about yeah, July of year 12. Yeah, July of year 12, we were meant to have a draft in by then. We were meant to have a draft in by the time we left for summer, and by the time I left for summer I'd written a sentence because I got so caught up on getting it right per paragraph first, and that was just not the way, just not. It didn't work for me, and I wouldn't recommend it. I would recommend just writing the whole thing. Just write it. It doesn't matter if you read it back and it sounds awful, that's fine. Write the whole thing, leave it, give it to someone else to read, get them to mark on it. You read it back, you think, actually, yeah, that makes sense. I'm going to change this bit, this bit, this bit. I'm going to put this bit here instead of there. I'm going to take that out. And basically, just refine it every time. And you can add things, you can take things out. But as long as by the end, it doesn't matter how many times you draft it, no one's going to mark you on how many times you draft your personal statement. It just gets better every time you do. And there's a point where you have to stop and think, look, is this going to get any better? And the answer's probably no. Or you just can't be bothered, which is the stage that I got to. But, yeah, I would say a minimum of 3 drafts is normal, probably more. Probably more. Definitely more. But yeah, don't do any less than 3 drafts because it's probably not up to standard. I thought I'd finished. I'd done 3 drafts. I was told by my school that it was fine. I then went to a personal statement workshop that was free at the University of Manchester, and I told them what I was doing, what I was aiming for, and they straight up said, okay, well, you shouldn't have that in it, you shouldn't have this, you should put this here. And the way they explained it was so useful, and it meant that I did another 2 drafts after that, and it really helped, and I completely understand where they're coming from, and I don't know if I would have got in if I hadn't changed it how they told me. So I guess that's a side point, is most local unis do personal statement workshops, and if you literally just go on the website and sign up, they're free. Do them. They really, really help. I must have done about 5 personal statement workshops, and all of them said similar but different things. So I learned more and more, and essentially I'm just telling you everything that I've learned. But yeah, so essentially what I'm saying in that point is do the drafts, do as many as it takes, don't be afraid to keep drafting it, and don't rewrite it as you go. Write the whole thing as a draft. Then if you change the whole thing, that's fine, but you get stuck in a rut if you try and do it as you go along, especially if you start in the beginning, you just change your introduction over and over again, and because of that I might even say don't do your intro first at all. So yeah, I hope this has helped, even though I've rambled probably about the same thing for a good 20 minutes. But yeah, if any of you want my personal statement, I will be happy to give it out, but I will say that there is plagiarism software on UCAS, so joke's on you if you copy it. But yeah, I will give it out because, I mean, it'll help, maybe, I don't know. Anywho, if this has helped at all, or if you just like my face, give it a thumbs up, and comment me some requests for videos, because I have every Thursday and Friday, oh wow, that's a large B. I have every Thursday and Friday free for the next 2 weeks, and then I'll just try and film whenever. But yeah, I need some video ideas, so thank you very much for watching, and I will see you soon.